Hey all, and welcome to the 4 o'clock shadow. Flying solo today, giving Shadowhawk the day off to talk about this subject here. Build a brand, not a gimmick. If you want to stick around, you got to have staying power. And how can we do that? Well, um, a lot of factors come into that, right? And maybe I will just touch upon uh, a few of them. Before we get started, though, I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving tomorrow. We will be here for Thanksgiving. We're here for Christmas, New Year's. We might as well be Walgreens brand. They're open 330, 366 days on the leap year and 365 the rest. They're open all the time. It's amazing. Um, Created a new character yesterday. Was it yesterday? It's today. Created earlier today because I've been trying to pace myself and uh um uh I won't tell you who this is, but uh we'll play a now that I've created her, I will think about where I add her. I've got echo going on here like something's running. See what's open here. Let's see. It may be on the other browser. Yep, it's on the other browser. Channel's doing okay. Well, I got a lot echo still. All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Giving all. I am thankful. I got the night off tonight. There you go. There you go. So I just don't be afraid to spur of the moment type thing. Uh, research is a big thing. Hallucinia, halluc, hallucinogenia. Okay, hallucinogenia. Actually, a species, a extinct species, or supposedly extinct. Really, it was a trippy look. So, I took that name. It's like actually a scientific name that somebody made up. Aren't all things. So there's hallucinogenia. That's a mouthful, but it's a great name, and I decided to you know, do a concept and a character for that, another female character. Uh, the other character, I kind of want to be a surprise. Might talk about her later. You know, but not right now. And I was on topic list last night and did a border and then worked on it afterwards too. While we were, often after the show, we'll sit around and talk and share and whatever. So I did a border here in acrylic paint and white out for a new Euphoria page, and that's all I got done. I actually painted, took Elsie's advice and paint on this particular one. Um, that I've been looking at actually came up with a very freaky looking bog that I want to do on a sketch card. Kind of signed and put my name on some cards for some others. Um, and also looking at old artwork, revisiting, and uh, swamp zombies, and other things in the scratch art that I did for Bog, and this character got to depict him. There's several, like here's one called Wisp. I'm not even sure. Brain stalkers. What's a brain stalker? I mean, there's some cool concepts here. I don't know how much I want to draw from that and roll in. But yeah, that's probably a thing. You know, uh, this has to do with the reality rod. That's what this is, the round and the stem here. It's sort of, and I was thinking about a cover here, uh, you know, a whole thing back in the day. I'm not even sure when that is, and it's a few years old, and this is half. This is like some swamp zombies with a character, voodoo master, and one of his underlings, and just some people converted into zombies, swamp zombies. Uh, I would say don't be afraid to change your vision of what you're doing. Shadowhawk says, "Okay, I'm out. Dinner prep for tomorrow begins now. Have a great night, everyone." All right. Glad I could help out with that. Again, I wish I'd caught Shadowhawk before he left. Find somebody that shares your vision, is important. 4 o'clock shadow would be vastly different if it was just me up here every day. Um, uh, Sometimes you may want to fly solo, like I'm doing today. Um, don't be afraid to change the formula, but having someone like a co-host that has been here for so long and adds a different perspective to things, good and bad. Mike Walters in the house. Of course, we had Caleb earlier in the house. He was first. It's good to see you, Caleb, and good to see my co-host Shadowhawk chiming in, and for all of you watching. Uh, be fearless and unafraid about what you want to your change your vision. Uh, and do research. Like I said, I was just taking some time out every day to do a little bit of research, watch a little thing, read something different, invite new concepts and ideals, try and grow. Um, and you can do this daily. Again, that's another thing. Work on it daily, work towards a goal daily. Now, I know all have lives, and we have loved ones that are in our lives, and we have friends and things, but also that can tear us away from what our singular vision is and what we're trying to do. Of course, you don't want to get there to your goal and look around and have no one around. You want to have others that you brought along with you, and fervent your vision, and your vision is not in your plan. Of course, they've got their own plans, right? So you have to be respectful of that, but you also want to cultivate in others with leadership, hopefully. And leadership comes in all forms and sizes. Um, but find what works for you. Get allies to share that vision. And if they totally don't see that vision of what you're trying to do, that's fine. Like I said, they have a vision all their own. I've often said, if you clean your backyard up, and the other person will clean their backyard up, and et cetera, et cetera. If we will look in the mirror, and ultimately that and God, in my opinion, my worldview, is all that we have accountable to, you know. Treat others as you would want them to treat you, the golden rule, right? And don't leave God out of the equation, I wouldn't say, by any means. I mean, if you want to be a person in authority, you have to be under authority. You have to first follow before you can lead. Often we are led by example, right? Uh, Hell, LZ, it's good to see you, brother. Um, so don't leave God out of the equation. Don't leave the family out of, and have a backup plan. Family is very important. I don't want to skirt over that. I did a whole paper on family, and it came from a dream, just the importance of family. Um, whatever your family is, take care of business of what is important at the moment. Prioritize, write things down. Uh, have a backup plan. If your plan falls apart, don't be afraid to alter that plan. Like I say, try new things, see if they work. It may take a little bit of time for things to develop. Fruit is not developed on a tree overnight, it takes a whole season. So it may take a whole season to see if what you are doing, we have different seasons in our lives. We just do. That's a good analogy. We can look around nature and go, we've got our young developing, child like side, and then we've got a teenager side, and then we have a young adult side, and then we have sort of middle-aged adult, and then we have older, but still vibrant age, at the end, about retirement age, people say. Although I say never retire. When you retire, that's when you start to shrivel up and die. Always have something on the back burner, and don't be afraid to shake that up and reevaluate that, and formulate a plan. Find a plan that works, like I said. um and keep trying stuff till you find something that works better. Time is the only one. There's only one of you, and there's only so much time. So, and I believe as we get older, time seems to be taken more serious. By you know ourselves, and it should be. You're only given so much time on this earth. Family, the backbone of America, absolutely, or just the working system that works, the nuclear family. I just watched a cartoon, Justice League Action, that had a play on that. The nuclear family. They were actually nuclear robots that were tested. That were. It was anyway. I was like, got the joke before they even told me. Of course, I've seen that, but I haven't seen it in a while. So, you know, um, I've been trying to, don't spread yourself too thin. Um, like I say, don't if everyone doesn't get your vision of what you should be doing, um, you know, um, that's okay. Just take care of how you spend your time. Uh, do your research every day. I think that's very important. Work on developing. If you're a writer, work on your developing. Uh, Work on, if you're an artist, and if you're both, work on both. There is a way to do it. Like I say, structure it somewhat. It could be a loose structure, but there's been uh a lot of people look into leadership and systems that work, right? There's books out there. I mean, if you really want to, from Trump's Art of the Deal, which I've never read, but I would like to read, um, to books from Zig Ziglar, and others that are on leadership, Christian leadership. Um, Zig Ziglar is a great one. That's a wild name, isn't it? But it's unforgettable. And I forget what his protege's name was, but I have several books of him. And know what you're talking about when it comes to the internet. There's a lot of people don't know what they're talking about. They're just talking, and that's fine. That might be, if that's your aspiration and that's your goal, but don't be afraid to lift the lid. True leadership means you're going to lift the lid on and do things differently. There's examples like the McDonald's brothers. They had a chain of restaurants, I believe, out in California, and these were back in the day of sort of like car hops, where you had real china and real silverware. Imagine that, going to a Sonic and they bring you real silverware and real dishes to eat your meal. But just there in the car. That's kind of wild. But that's how they did it, till they started, changing it. And Koch uh, took McDonald's in the early 50s and took it to a new level and took it worldwide. Uh, New vision. Don't be afraid to lift the lid on what you want to do, and it may take you in directions that you never thought that it would take you. I know several things I've went into. I never thought that I would add that to my portfolio of experience, but I'm glad I did. And with that comes trials and tribulations, right? You can't have a testimony unless you're tested. You have to, challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone, um, cultivate that inner circle of friends. Absolutely. Um, but know that you ultimately, like I say, you have to be a follower before you can be a leader. You need to know what servitude is as well. And the greatest of all of us was a servant, in my opinion. Have role models, but steady role models that have proven themselves, right, by what they have done in life. They can be dead heroes or some that are still alive. Um, but don't leave God out of the equation by any means, because we need something outside of ourselves that it's greater than ourselves. And we need to do some self evaluation every day. Um, oh crap, I hadn't heard about that yet. What's that? Shadowhawk. What have you not heard about? Um, but yeah, there's several business models out there, and there's everybody screaming for your attention, right? So if you have to get alone by yourself, which is pretty much what I do, I get alone. It's more of maybe a stoic, uh, I'm finding out, through research, it may be more of a stoic philosophy than I've never really tried to put a name and a brand to it. But some things are, if you don't identify the problem, if you don't label it, you cannot fix that problem. So again, you have to go outside of yourself or have others that point things out to you that maybe you don't see. For many, many years, um, you know, um, no one told me that I had selective hearing. And then somebody was brash enough to say the National Guard that got shot. Okay. No, I hadn't heard that either. Just happened. Wow. Well, I mean, the enemies are going to be ramping up things. The anarchists, they feel like they pull it apart. However you want to, you have people that's all they know to do is to be a wrecking ball. And wrecking balls can be very and bulldozers and other construction tools, right? They can be useful, but in the wrong hands with the wrong ideas, they can be very destructive. Same thing in society. We've almost lost our civil society. We're no longer civil to each other. It's easier to be bold and brash, and certainly, but you've got children wielding weapons, figuratively. And but I mean, around the world, they literally, but in America here, you've got the bloggers and the quote influencers and stuff. The day before Thanksgiving, coincidence? No, and you got to wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. But we shouldn't dread the holidays by any means. But yeah, we need to know that America's got a target on their back, and individuals have a target on their back. I guess we all do. Remember Tron? Tron had the little uh, targets on their back or on their front, whatever it was, where they would throw disc and try and hit, you know, uh, almost like laser tag before laser tag or around that time. Uh, but I mean, yeah, we've all got a target on us. We're not going to appeal to everyone, and we need to come to grips with that. We're not going to appeal to everyone. We shouldn't be trying to appeal to everyone. We need to find our select audience, right? Those that like to watch our content, that like to hear what we have to say. And you have no control over that. Ultimately, all you can do is the very best that you can do. And I think that that's all that individuals should ask of you, although that individuals don't. God sets an example down. He's never asked you to do anything that he hasn't done himself before in some form or another. And, we need to keep that in mind. That keeps us, if you're on the forefront of the battle, it's look at it as a chess game. If you're on the forefront, you may be one of the first taken out. While the general who's calling the shots back in the back is safely out of range, you know. Um, don't always, pick your fights. That's another thing. You need to pick your fights, and you need to pick them carefully, because there will be conflict. If you are trying to truly be an innovator and you are trying to do something different, you're going to have critics. A friend of mine said that to me recently. You're going to have critics, and yet look at what they're doing. Uh, are they doing what they say that you should be doing? Um, often I'm criticized for how I run my channel, and yet I see creators that aren't putting up anything on their channels. Um, I'm criticized for the way I'm running my campaign, and yet they're not even really campaigning. So not anyone in particular here, but I'm just saying, look in the mirror, look to and find what works for you. If what works for you, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Do better, Rex. Yes. I absolutely. We should be striving every day to do better. Better. It's good to see you, Gable. Uh, we all need to set a bar, and one thing is, like I said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel every day, although we should strive for innovation. um, Innovation at what cost? You have to count the cost with everything. There are certain principles of every aspect of our life there, and we need to look toward our physical needs. Obviously, we need to look at our mental needs and our emotional needs. We need to look at our spiritual needs. We need to be in balance and harmony, and often it's easy to get out of that. Not enough rest, trying to do too much, trying to be influenced by too many people in our lives, not enough people in our lives as well. It goes both ways. Know that the pendulum, we're seeing that now, in our government and things. We're seeing the pendulum swing another way than it's been swinging. Um, or are we? I don't know. It's above my pay grade. I know what I would like to say. We all have expectations. Make sure those expectations are real. That's very important, that your limitations. But don't be afraid to exceed those limitations. Um, like I say, push yourself, but push yourself in the right direction. If you're going to fail forward. That's actually a book, Fail Forward, and a principle within leadership of being a leader. Now you say, well, I may not want to be a leader. I get that. I get that a lot. People don't want But in a way, in our own sphere of influence, we're all leaders. You know, you may be more of a follower. We all have different gifts. We all have different strengths. We all have different weaknesses. You need to find those and you need to point those out to one person, yourself. Well, one person in God. How about that? Um, don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, that may be from God, that may be from another individual. God uses other people to bless us with, and also to be a thorn in our flesh. Keep that in mind, you know. Um, don't underestimate people. Don't, and that includes yourself. You are capable of more. I hear this all the time. You only use 10% of your brain. And Elsie says, God knows. Absolutely. God knows. He knows, but you know, he's a resource that you can go to. Go back to the source. Um, that was preached to me recently. Go back to the source of things. Uh, naked you came into this world, not to get too risque, and naked you will go out, and we will not have a U-Haul behind us. Um, if you have differences between a person, go to them quickly and resolve it, even if it is to walk away and say there is no resolution to this. You've at least addressed the problem and address it quickly. Don't let things fester. That's never a good thing. And no, Fester was there was an Uncle Fester, but that's not the Fester I'm talking about. There is uh, pus and all like that. That's not the kind of festering and infection. But yeah, I guess that's the way I'm kind of using the word. You don't want things to get out of hand and feelings to be hurt, and some people's memories are long when they've been slighted. And so, you know, go to that person, head it off of the past, be direct with them. And I always had a problem with that. When I was younger, I had a problem confronting someone directly. I didn't like conflict. I don't know if Caleb. Now Caleb might be a Viking. He may be on, want to, lop somebody's head off and grab an axe and go into war and stuff like that and go berserk, be a berserker. But when I was younger, I never did. I didn't like conflict with people. Mainly because maybe I didn't have the answers, and that's another thing. Look and be honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, then how are you going to be honest with others? Having an honest evaluation of yourself. I picked the Pat Rock, which actually has been picked up again and rebranded, but it's the same Pat Rock that came out in the mid 70s. And you talk about useless. Put some Google eyes on a rock or draw on a rock or whatever, and expect people to buy a rock. Rock are like leaves. Um, they're plentiful, and so why, unless it's a semi-precious or precious rock, why should you be, you know, having a rock as a pet? Um, Pick up a rock and put it in your pocket and say, "That's my pet rock." That's all you have to do. You want to draw a little smiley face on it, put googly eyes, make your own. But really, I mean, pop culture, like I said, that's a gimmick, no staying power. Like Funko Pops. Funko Pops have been relevant for a minute. They're on the way out. They've been a dumpster fire for most of their creation time. They're uh, taking something that we love, pop culture, and sterilizing it, you know, into these little plastic figures that are maybe a watered down touchstone, to our childhoods. Nostalgia will always sell. It's a novel concept, but give us more. There's a company that didn't innovate over the years and was always in trouble. Great grandpa is the firstborn Norwegian here in America. There you go. See, I knew I saw that berserker in you there, Caleb. That take the heel at any cost type guy. I mean, relentless. Look, a lot of you people are gamers. It's like waka 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 waka. Can't get that out of my head. Pac-Man. Um, you know, uh, it is a labyrinth. It is a maze, and it's called our lives, and we have to navigate that as best as we can. And I find this to be true when I go out and physically trim my hedges. They come back stronger because their energy is not going all over the place. Uh, it will come back double or triple the next year, or maybe 2 years later, if you want something to really take off. I was really severely cut down as much of this mulberry stump that has been here since I moved in. The tree was already cut down; it was just a stump, but it had new growth growing out of it because life finds a way. Lorenzo Sleestack in the house. How are you, Lorenzo? It has been way too long. And yeah, maybe I broke my own rule. Don't ask people how they are because, especially older people, you may get a lot of, but it's good to see you, Lorenzo. The lizard, how are you been, Lorenzo? Caleb says. We endeavor to do, uh, lizard representation every day, as you know. Let me see if I can. All right, all right. There we go. There we go. This is a dramatic issue. You can see, I had to stop to do this because I respect Lorenzo. There we go. So there's your lizard representation for today. Yeah, the mighty Titan Bola, about to swallow you can imagine, a helicopter. Great for a movie scene, not necessarily in reality. They're trying to resurrect some of these ancient animals, and I'm not sure bringing back the dodo is the best thing. We would just want to go all Funko Pop with it, I think. Um, I don't know what Funko Pop's brand was. I mean, the thing of it is, they didn't keep their product limited. You do need to push for new people that want to come on board and buy your product. And everything's a product, even comics are a product, and it's a very niche product. I kind of laugh at some of the way some of the campaigns are done because they're ultra limited already. Their cancellation numbers 40 years ago in comics, and probably not as far back as that. Dodo's birds will be the new purse puppies. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, you have pound puppies. Um, uh, you always have a toy of the year, right? You have Tickle Me Elmo, the glowworm, Cabbage Patch Kids, the Tie Babies. You've always got some hot items for the year, when it comes to Christmas that kids want, right? And a lot of that, let's face it, is branding, is going out there in commercials and pushing that. I think that's what the Academy Awards have become with the movies, where independence is pushed out. And it's the same way, I ever been the same way with the indie scene. Although people have IPs and their own ideals, and that's basically, I think, the driving force with the indies. Things that they can't do in the quote mainstream, which is not mainstream anymore. I don't know why we call mainstream media mainstream. They're mainstream propagandists, not mainstream media. They don't. That's not. I would say most people don't agree with what's on the news nowadays. That's not their worldview. That's not their value system. And that's what we're all trying to sort of formulate, right? Is a worldview that works for us in every endeavor that we do. Noah, I was talking about all the celebrities having tiny dogs they took everywhere. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's it we always have trends, right? We always have trends. We always have, oh, listening to that music. And then, disco's a thing for a while, and then everybody hates disco. You know, um, we've seen that. We've seen punk rock, rap. Is a lot of these have staying power. I think maybe rap's a good thing. I would say if rap is because it is made billions and trillions of dollars probably by this point. Um, it's given some young people an outlet. It may be a good release valve. That's the main thing I can see. I think it's we haven't been honest as a society. There are always we need to be honest with ourselves. There's going to be those that have and those that have not. Should we lift up those that have not? Yes, if they're willing to work as you've worked. Personal responsibility. This is nothing new. This goes back to our founding. Rush Limbaugh would talk about this every year. Hey, Carrie, um, he would talk about this every year. The founding, they tried socialism. They tried other forms before they tried capitalism. They found with socialism that there were some part of, it might have been just a few ne'er do well people, but they were living off the dough. They were living off what other people did. They had a community food storage, and they were being lazy and shiftless. And so when you don't, if you don't work, you don't eat. And it's amazing how a lazy person can become very industrious if 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 they're a little bit hungry. That's not cruelty, that's reality. Reality is harsh, you know? We all have aches and pains and complaints and blah blah blah. I mean, but is that what we're going to focus on? It's hard not to focus on that with chronic illness. I get that. Um, doesn't even have to be chronic, but I mean, it's there are different ways to cope with everything. Whether it be, like I say, that falls into your physical. You got physical, emotional, which probably comes into it. You've got spiritual. You've got to meet these needs. Your physical needs are going to be your bodily needs, your nutrition, a house, clothing. These things have been around for centuries. We know these things. These are almost written in our DNA. Lorenzo says, I like the rap music from the 70s through late 90s, early 2000s. I'm sorry. 60s, 70s are cool. Yeah, I think in a way the 60s were a rending of the cloth. There was so much uh, social upheaval, but at the same time, it was a golden age for innovation in ways. Um, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to change the formula. Even Coca-Cola had to change its color and formula. Coca-Cola originally was green. Why? How did it get that caramel color? Because it's more appealing to people than the green. you know, I mean, TV movies do that all the time, or TV series. They will sit down in a dark room and have people review it and say and take a poll afterwards. How do you think about what do you think about this? An early viewing. Is it too long? What scenes need to be taken out? What scenes did you like? What jokes did you like? And take an honest assessment. You don't get it, Rex, precisely because you haven't had to live it yet. If you are lucky, you never will. Okay. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I've not had people in my life that have seen that suffering. No, I don't get it. Um, like I used to say when I got into the present, I have respect. I have more respect for you because you're you. And, we should esteem others higher than ourselves. And if I failed to do that, I'm here to, laud that I have a wonderful co-host. But I get it. We'll probably differ on that. If you don't want to give ground on that, fine. Um, we that's fine. I don't want it to be a point of contention. Never have. Um, I get it. Maybe I don't get it. But we can agree to disagree. You know. Um, but just talking generally here, and I've had heartbreak and when it comes to illness. Have I experienced it physically myself? And yes, I totally agree with you. Yeah, hopefully I will be blessed never to have to experience that. Of course, as we're getting older, we should take our priorities should shift. In that regard. Again, that's setting realistic limits. Uh, Say what you will, I feel like Trump is you could say he's a useful puppet or he's driven. He's he's remained healthy and it's going to be hard for some people to watch him age and not be able to do the things that he used to do because he's been energetic for so many decades. Um, those that are really aligned with him. Um, I can already see um physically, he's getting older and looking older, and the presidency will take a toll on you. I think by this point it would have killed lesser men. You know, say what you will about him, he's driven. Um, like or dislike what he's doing, he's got energy. You know, um, Biden had no energy, very low, low energy. I've been called low energy. Biden had no energy. You know, um, yeah, I mean, I've had to deal with chronic illness, not myself, but others in my life that were only given so long to live, and they're near to my heart. And I tried to be a caregiver to them. I've been a caregiver to two people that's passed away, and that's just my work. But I've had loved ones. I've told you the story of Gail that lost her left eye to cancer, and then of course it went to her colon and went to her lymph nodes, and who knows after that. It was only given 5 years to live. I went through all that with her for many years. Um, and it changes your perspective on life, Don't you won't get mad at let's see, I won't get mad at you and I would never wish my pain on anyone else. It's just a phrase. I get it. I feel your pain, etc. is all BS until you have a serious struggle to survive day to day. Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's what I was touching on earlier in a more general way that life is hostile. Life is, um, and we have to, uh, think about it in personal terms, but also in general terms as well. And that's what's amazing to me that things have been made so easy within our society that it seems like people take so much for granted, so much for granted. And I just think back, a generation or two back where, I mean, they were dealing with the depression. And even then, I've been watching some um, Sherlock Holmes stories that were in the 50s that, set back in the 1900 in the late 1900s, at turn of the century, the beginning of the 20th century. On one of the episodes, I think, that I watched yesterday, it said 1897. So I was like, well, that's set really late in the century. Um, um, and just looking at no cars, horse and buggy, or you walked. I mean, just to get from point A to point B took more time. Most people, it was the 20th century before they ventured out more than 20 miles out from their house. Most people didn't venture out, at least in America, out more than um, 20 miles from their house. Um, so times have changed. And, yes, we want to hold on to what is the best of, and there's some stuff that we should hold on to. I mean, and now there's even that stuff is being challenged and debated. The nuclear family, what you really need, and should government be your god and control all this? I don't see that their track record is that great, right? Never give up your individual freedom. I mean, that was what the founding of this whole country was about, was individual uh, freedom. You have inalienable rights that no one, even God, your God, it's given to you, and only God can take them away. But He's promised He will not take those away. But man will try and take those away, and have for many, many years. They came within just like a couple of votes of outlawing slavery in this country at the founding, but it was undoable. And at that time, and it nearly tore the nation apart later under the 16th president, like Abraham Lincoln. Uh, but we survived it and went on. And there's always going to be slavery somewhere in the world. There's slavery now. There's slavery in America now. Especially since the borders had been opened up and let so much in. There's a lot. There's an underbelly to America. There's an underbelly to every country, though. With that said, we should be very thankful that we're within the borders of America, and we have a voice, and we can protect ourselves with firearms or whatever level of protection we wish. Paint, pepper spray, whatever. I mean, you have a right to defend what is yours, and you have a right to private property. And the government would like to just put a number on that, and you're just a Funko Pop, and you're just one in a blockchain. I think it goes a little bit different than that. I think people intuitively know it does, but often it's uh, not even challenged till it's taken away, and that's pretty sad. If we don't guard our liberties, we're bound to lose them, right? Uh, we have to know that we are at liberty. I love that when you go off a ship, they say you're at liberty. You know, you have a little bit more freedom than what you would have. And it's the same way with us, right? At work, you can't do just anything you want. There's people out there that have no sense of personal responsibility. It's always, I mean, so many people was like, um, talked about that, right? Ranted about that there is no uh, personal responsibility, that there's victimhood, and there is that, but it's, I think that's why we try and set an example. I know that's why I try and set an example here every day, and, and uh, be responsible enough and caring enough to show up here every day, and not just be self-serving, but to actually be here for the Carries of the world, and the Gable Penny Shots of the world, and the Shadowhawks of the world, and the Walter Danleys of the world, aka LZ, aka awesome dude, aka got the gift of giving. We all have a gift. Shadowhawk's got the gift of giving, um, and he has the gift of caring, and so many other good traits. I can't list them all here, nor should I. Um, you have to find those things out for yourself. And like I say, I'm fortunate enough that I and Shadowhawk click enough that we're able to do what we do daily. Um, and he will always hold a special place in my heart. Uh, you know, uh, if I never saw him again, we've served the better part of over 3 years together doing um, what we do. And and he will be the first to tell you that often we don't know what we're doing because I'm in charge. Um, yes, I do love you, man. I love you, bro. And I mean, you can't be in the foxhole with somebody, you know, and not some of it rub off on you somehow. You're gonna have the abrasive types. Fortunately, he's not the abrasive type. That wears you down quick. Um, but you got to have a plan. And I felt like we've always had common goal and plan in mind. Promote ourselves, yes, but promote others. Like I say, I think that's uh, the goes back to just common sense, golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and serve man and serve God. Serving man is like unto serving God. And when you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it on my behalf. I mean, you've served God when you serve others. And I've tried to do that through the homeless shelters, through more altruistic or philanthropist charity, you know, um, through working prison ministry and other things in the past. And that taught me a lot about, that gave me time to focus on other things, even things that were beyond things that I cherished and felt like was a big part of who I was, which was comic books. I actually laid that down for a couple years. You might have to lay it down to to pick it up and truly appreciate what you have. You may have to forsake it for a while to know that you miss it. Um, Yeah, you roll with the flow. Yeah, you roll with the punches is more like it. Um, but yeah, I mean, thank you, everybody, for helping me, um, formulate my plan and expand on that plan and have an outlet. Having an outlet and a vent hole. I mean, often Shadowhawk has vented to me. I have vented to him often, and frustrations, and that's good. That's good. Like I say, you've got an inner circle, and then you have an inner circle, an outer circle, but they're still close associates. And then you have associations with people, and you've got total strangers. I mean, the ring keeps going. Life is like, sometimes it can appear like a maze, but it's more like an onion with many layers, right? Concentric circles. I mean, if you missed it once, no, be at peace. It will circle back around, even, people talk about karma all the time, it'll come back to you, Um, often you don't think, this will never happen in my life. And then it happens and you're surprised by it. I'll never own this. There's been many times I thought I will never own this, and it's dropped right into my lap. Even been given to me. So never say never. be realistic. Yes. Like I say, set goals daily, write it down. There's been research that millionaires have written down, have a day planner. It could be just a piece of paper and a pencil. Write it down. A few things. Got to go to the grocery store. Here's my grocery list. If you don't get it to today, put it on tomorrow's list. Or can't do it. I've got a meeting. Can't go to get groceries. Okay, the next day then. But keep up with it till it's, well, I don't need that because I had a friend, come over Thanksgiving and we got all this food and deliver a whole bunch of me care package, and I no longer need to do that. All right, mark that off the list. You know, keep some kind of loose agenda at least. Some of us are more organized than others. I'm not the greatest organizer in the world. Shadowhawk can tell you that. You need an outlet somewhere where you can just say what you feel at the time. Yeah, it may change later, but just get something off your chest is good. Absolutely. Um, absolutely. Because when you hold it in, that makes you sick. You know, um, used to, we just pick a battle axe up and kill our neighbor and go to war. you know, War and death has been always here. Slavery's always been here. There's bigger issues in life. Um, and these problems were here when you were born, and they will be here when you leave the planet. And maybe we leave the planet, try and leave the planet a little better than we entered it in. Entered it in. Yeah, geez. You can tell I've been doing the midnight oil, and but I've rested. I've tried to pace myself. That's why, you know, um, sometimes we need to reprioritize, re, reprioritize, reprioritize. I can't even say it. That's why I need a co-host. If I hear it, then I can say it. Uh, reappraise. How about that? No, priorities. You know what I'm trying to say. I can't say it. Um, um, how do you go on from that? I don't know. But we do. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Um, life is like a ball of chocolates, a box of chocolates. I don't know about that. Sometimes it appears like a milkshake, but um, you know, if I see people at all levels, from people not putting up any content on their channels to putting up some content on their channels, but are not. It's not for me to say if they're successful or not. They may be happy with where they're at, and that's fine. Even the people that don't put content up on their channels, um, you might have a different vision of that. I had probably more technical issues and felt like I didn't have a voice till I was challenged by Apex to actually start putting up content on the channel, which, we'll celebrate 4 years of content on the channel December 27th every year. So that's coming up. You gonna late night draw? I don't know, Raul. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I probably won't do anything tonight. I probably will think and write a little bit. I've been trying to stay in my own head space. Um, certainly, there's shows that perhaps I need to be on, but that's not the agenda. Or even to stream and put content up on this channel all the time. Although I've made a concerted effort to do that. Our views and um, our watch time hours are in the stratosphere. We are breaking new territory. We're up a couple of thousand, I think. We're up to 2.8K on views. We're up to a new stratosphere of 679.1 watch time hours for I think a 28-day period, less than a month. About, I guess they set it at February time, 28 days. But then sometimes February has leap year in it, right? It's 29 days. So what do you do then, YouTube? Um, don't be afraid to put up those little videos too. I did a chill and hang that I think had 5 people watch it at the time, because it was, I think now it's up to about 12 views. Um, it was a short one, less than, like, about 43 minutes, just recounting some of the news and some chat, and just chiming in. And that's fine to do things like that. I'll look at my comments here. Azrael or Prometheus says, hello, Devil Flyer. That was nice. 7 hours ago. That was nice. Don't get a lot of comments. Every now and then I'll get a reaction, comment. But, I look at the numbers, and yes, I've been trying to put up, as I'm able to stream more, which, don't always feel like streaming as much as what I've been doing. When I'm, in my work season, when I'm at my night job, not my day job, my night job, kind of like Apex in that regard. He works at night as security and also drives at night. So yeah, I've been trying to forge ahead, work on the sketch cards, work on the story ideals, work on the art, and just do what I feel like needs to get done. Working on 3 different stories right now. Working on the Bog story page. I'm alternating. Working on a second Euphoria page. What's the other story I'm working on? Oh, and the Geo page. Yeah, working on the story for that. As it comes to me, you know. Um, I feel like if I lay a good foundation, and it is getting easier, and um, the Devil Flyer story dramatically changed with the creation of a new character today. It dramatically changed of what we're going to do with Devil Flyer. Going ahead with this, I've introduced a new character. I'm creating new characters. I'm creating new facets of new personalities, new voices to be heard. I think that's important that a person do that. If it's just to evaluate your own voice. We have different relationships with different people, right? We have mirror associations, we have business associations, work associations, um, maybe playtime associations, right? Um, we have family situations. There's all types of relationships out there. There's all types of situations. Life is rich like that. And sometimes I think we want to flatten that out, make it 2D. It is so three-dimensional. Rex R. Martin over here. Okay. Well, now you know the rest of the story. I don't know who R. Martin is, but because I'm dense. It's not that I'm dense. It's just that maybe I'm not as well read as I should be. Maybe as I filter too many things out. Um, but I would rather have a guarded filter than and be a little naive than just let everything sift through my life, because you're going to get a lot of garbage. Um, but there's a lot to mixing up gravy. What are you going to do for Thanksgiving, Shadowhawk? What kind of meal are you prepping? You got turkey? You got to have turkey. If you say we're going to have Goo Goo Guy Pan, I'm going to disown you, at least for today. Tomorrow, you just enjoy your supper and don't worry about it. Um, but let's face it, charisma comes into it, magnetism comes into it, um, nature comes into it. How we cope with everyday life, and or how we don't cope with it. We've seen all types of people filter through our lives in the last few years if we've been watching different YouTube channels. And we all have a different slant, a different take on things, right? Shadowhawk does his channel a lot differently than what I do over here. Apex does his a lot different. Hex Allen does his a lot different. Wise Guys does his a lot different. And on and on and on. Tank Ferret does his differently. Jason Bascom does his differently than Luke does his, and they've been together on Topic List for years. Janet from Another Planet does hers vastly different, than a lot of people. Um, Shay, another cosplayer. There's all people trying different things, and that's a good thing. I think you can watch a variety of things, read a variety of things. I think that's healthy. Um, Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Prioritize. Be intentional. Be intentional with what you're doing. Stay on track. Stay focused. Whatever it takes. Right. Um, don't be afraid to take some time off. I've taken some time off. Might have been work, might have been just for mental, funerals and mental, but very few. I mean, I probably less than a month, since I've been doing the 4 o'clock shadow. I've taken off less than a month. Some of that work related, some of that just technical issues, internet down. Some of that due to family, other things calling me away, like funerals, family events. But other than that, not a lot, because I've made a commitment, and that commitment has been stronger at times than others. You're gonna wisp and wane. You're going to come in, even the tide comes in and goes out, right? And comes in again and goes out, with different intensity and different strengths. Sometimes the 4 o'clock shadow has been weak suck. It's been very weak. At other times it's been very strong. And so, but I think for Iron Shadow, we just try and maintain a balance, you know, somewhere in between where we're consistent, we're steady, and that's why we have 1,301 episodes. And uh, shout out to Shadowhawk and Omer Glitch for continuing on back in April from when I wasn't here doing it. Um, keeping the brand alive, keeping the show alive. Uh, Muchos apreciatos, guys. Never always great. Yeah. Um, don't be afraid to toot your own horn, but it's, a little bit of that goes a long way, right? It's kind of like salt. You get something too salty, it becomes unedible. Um, and then again, you've got like preserved meats and stuff like that. But yeah, uh, treat it like fine wine. Some things come better in small doses. Um, I guess that's what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to find a harmonious way to do things, and navigate the problems that come up. Having technical problems, of course, having problems just getting in contact with some of the people I want to get in contact with. You don't appreciate that till it's lost. But we'll get over the obstacles that we have, as we have always done. And Cornish hens. Oh, that's right. You had said that you were going to do Cornish hens. I don't know that I've ever had a Cornish hen. I know what a Cornish hen is. Um, aren't usually. I mean, back in the day, they used to be expensive. I don't know. They pretty expensive now. Green bean casserole, mashed potatoes and gravy, stuffing, deviled eggs, fresh baked rolls, pumpkin pie, and cherry cobbler. Oh, and some fresh cranberry orange sauce of my own. Yes. Yeah. Elsie says, I'll be right over. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that I'll have that. I'll be visiting my mother, who's 90, right across the street. Be there by midnight. Yeah. He might have it done. He's prepping, you know. Uh, Hex Allen in the house. Hello, my people, he says. Um, I mentioned you earlier, Hex, just in passing, though, and in a good way. Just saying that you do things differently. Apex does things differently. Shadowhawk does things differently. I do things differently. We run our channels differently, and I like that diversity. Wise Guys does his differently. He did interviews and like gaming, and now he went to gaming, and now he's trying to get back to interviews. Although I don't know if he's doing that or not. He was more successful with interviews, but he's gaming's big. But Ginkgo in the house, how are you? Hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving. Like I say, I'm going to visit my mother across the street. Maybe get some turkey and ham from her like I did last year. Of course, I have some ground turkey in the freezer, in the refrigerator, ready to go to make into something. Uh, about my turkey intake, my beef intake has went down, although I like beef. Don't get me wrong, it's just so expensive. Um, yeah, have fun. I mean, if you can't, I'm one of those that if you can't have fun at it, I don't want to do it. When it lacks that fun, that's when it's at the same time, you make a commitment, you power on through, right? Uh, there's been times where when I haven't wanted to do this show because it's a daily grind, I mean, but I try not to look at it that way, um, and uh, treat it as something that I build my life around because I almost have to, and um, almost like the couple hours a day or however long that we kind of come together and see Gable penny shot, see Eric and Boyd. Where's Eric? Where is Eric? See Shadow, see LZ, see Carrie, see Ginkgo, see Hex occasionally, although he doesn't come around as much as I would like, or at least chime in. There's a lot of people that lurk, see Gray and see Raul, see Saboteur now. I mean, it's great to see all of you. There's Gray. See, he can, he can weigh heavy sometimes. Absolutely. You have to maintain a harmonious balance with your life. If it's out of whack, don't be afraid to say it's out of whack. We're going to have a short one today. Um, One of my successful chair streams recently was a day where it was like, yeah, the obstacles are just too large, but I had a backup plan. A backup plan was an official chair stream, which, I did the show and then had to go off to work and left it running till I got back from work. More than once, but I hadn't done it in a while. And never when it's just like have a chair stream from the very beginning, turn the camera on and go, and then just leave and do what I had to do that day, which was a lot. Um, so sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. What is this, Romper Room? I used to watch Romper Room. Now you leave Romper Room alone. Kukla, Friend, and Ollie too. Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, they're all golden with me. Zoom, want to zoom, 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 zoom. Hey there, Mrs. G says, "Hey there, it is the eve of the food coma." Absolutely, yeah, and I hope everybody gets what's the stuffing, and we can all always do things, even if I talked to a lady briefly, you know, um, at the Dollar Tree. She's checkout. Um, I said, "Are you?" A couple of days ago, I said, "Are you ready? Getting ready for Thanksgiving?" It's like I'll probably stay home and eat a frozen dinner, whatever. It was like, okay. Um, she asked me the same question. I was like, I don't know. You know, I don't really have anything planned. I'm sure I'll have a good one. Um, get your questions ready, Rex. It's a go. Yeah, cool, Shadowhawk. I'm trying to stop by. Yeah, I'm addicted to all of you wonderful people. I don't like not being able to talk to everyone tomorrow. There we go. So noon sardine stream. There you go. I can tolerate my family. Yeah, and you got two both sides of the family, right? Um, I learned that last year from you and your husband. Um, and things are going to be different for you now that you moved, right? You know, um, I talked to Mike Gustovich, early independent artist, comic artist of like over 50 years, and an early indie comic book artist, innovator. And he moved recently, his final move. Um, and we'll have on Mike before the end of the year again. I've been kind of saving that and giving him time enough to get moved, but now he's moved. He gave me an update. He said, "Give me a couple of weeks, and I'll have that Titan drawing for you." So that'll be awesome. Um, and wine, lots of wine, yeah, to get you through. You need that with some people. I mean, every day, Shadowhawk needs the bourbon or a beer to put up with me. I don't blame him. I'm probably a very hard person to live with. And especially since I've lived by myself for well over 25 years. Um, that being said, is it the ideal life? No, like I say, whether whether you're in a room, you can be alone in a room full of people. Just pausing for effect there because that's true. Um, at least I have Abby uh, with all her hacking and whatever. I mean, that's only been a recent thing in the last year, but she's getting older, and I'm glad that we've had these 13 years together. You know, um, haven't been away from her many days at all. Probably missed more days of the 4 o'clock shadow than I have with her. Um, I would leave her with mom when I went to work, and sometimes overnight, when my mother had her house and stuff, um, which would never happen when dad was alive. Wouldn't let me bring Ann Abby in the house. I don't know. He just had that thing. You don't have a dog in the house. Whatever. Um, I respected that. Left her outside or in the vehicle. But mom was open to it, and enjoyed it, and it was good companion for her during those times. I think she kind of looked forward to having that. I think Abby was big. Uh, uh, I think it was mutual between them, and a good change for Abby too, that she's not around me all the time because I basically am her world. But no man's an island. You got to recognize that too. No man's an island. No woman's an island. You've got to maybe a little peninsula. There we go. I had to get that joke out. Maybe a little peninsula, but not certainly not an island. At least I've been told. And the only reason I don't come on camera, which I was on earlier showing some artwork, is simply just to get the words out better, so that I don't have to worry about optics. Um, my grandma is 93. Wow, she's about my mother's age. My mother is 90, and has lived alone by preference for like 60 of them. Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it's a better arrangement. I mean, my own uh, a lot of my grandmothers and aunts and stuff were like that. I had three aunts that were all three spinsters. They lived together for years, for decades. Never got none of them ever got married. Um, Never hardly went anywhere. You know, that's we used to have a more sedimentary life. There is no going back to the agriculture society that we had per se. But I think we should modify it, and there should be a place for that. But yeah, the corporations squeezing things out. The world is changing. We've got to change with it. I mean, in a way, me on here every day is a testimony to that. I mean, I'm stretching myself. I'm here on the internet where I wasn't on the internet every day. Doing this less than 4 years. You know, but now I can imagine my life without it. But could I step away from it tomorrow? Absolutely. If I felt like that was the don't be afraid to take a back step to take two steps forward. Sometimes you have to do that. Um, Corporations is changing the world. Yeah. Yeah. I just watched a movie. Well, no, I watched that Continuum, that Continuum series, season one, was all about that, about corporations and industrial terrorists and fighting for liberty. And it's amazing they gave that 4 seasons. I don't know where it went and I looked it up on eBay, season 2, 3, and especially 4, the finale season, expensive, you know. But eventually I would like to see at least maybe take it bite size, get season 2, watch that. If I like that, continue on to 3, because you know how some seasons just fall apart after a while. Um, but yeah, there's many factors. There's always going to be more than we can deal with, and all we can do is how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. Take it in small sections, right? Um, and do the very best we can. And that's all that anybody should be expected uh, to expect of anybody else. If you're doing the very best that you can, it should be rewarded. Um, so send those super chats. No, um, that's not what this is all about, at least for me. Um, that's secondary. Although that was a goal initially, to get monetized. Now that I'm monetized, I'm not even like up there on the board, you know. But I'll get there. I'll get back to that. But that's not what it's all about, and nor should it be. What it is about is that you care enough every day to be here, to listen, to chime in, or maybe not every day. Just they might they are just midget chickens. Taste like regular chicken. Oh, okay. Talking about Cornish hens. First holidays we'll have without my stepdad, so my family will be at my house for a change of pace. Yeah, and you got a brand new house. That's going to be a change. Make sure your family knows you love them. See you guys later. Have a nice day tomorrow. I have once. Shadow. Yeah. Um, you have a good one too, Mrs. Good Stuff. Tell Mr. Good Stuff happy Thanksgiving. Absolutely. Yeah. We all had different Christmases growing up. Um, when I went into the prisons, I would tell the prisoners, um, um, don't hate me because God's blessed me, and I won't hate you for the things that you've done. Because I've done. They had a saying, and I guess if I was in there, you done the same things that we done. Well, I don't know about that, but you just didn't get caught at them. Yeah, that may be true in some instances. Um, Absolutely. Have a wonderful holiday. Only comes around once a year, and we should be thankful. And that's my question tomorrow on tomorrow's show. Are we truly thankful? Because we got a lot of, we're in America, some of us. Um, and if you're in a country, UK or Australia or wherever, and I mean, I'm not happy with the direction that America is going in a lot of ways. And, if you're up in Canada, you're probably saying the same thing. If you're down in Australia, you're saying the same thing. If you're in the UK, you're saying the same thing. We can always find something to bitch about, right? But, and that's part of it, identify the problem, and come to a solution, a resolution, or at least a path forward to maybe getting you to a resolution. You may not have, it's the old adage, I fell off a building, and, I looked toward a window, and somebody asked me, um, how's it going? And I said, on the way down, so good so far, because you hadn't hit bottom yet. Gratitude goes a long way. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the spiritual gifts, what I call the spiritual gifts. Giving, thanksgiving, being thankful, being kind, being loving, and maybe we didn't have the greatest role models, growing up. Maybe those role models were taken away way too early from us. But don't let life jade you. You affect life. Don't let life affect you. And that's easier said than done. I get it. Um, but be the person you would like to see others be toward you. Maybe you don't have an inkling of what that is, but I think we can look around. We can find kindness. We can find love. We can find the the mercy and grace that we're looking for. Show to others. Sow that into others, and it'll be sown back to you. You know, if you plant corn, you're going to get corn. So plant some kindness if you want some kindness. If you want patience, plant some patience. Every seed is after its own kind, right? So, so good things. There's going to be some people sowing weeds out there, and some of them are going to be doing it out of ignorance, and some of them are going to be doing it on purpose. And there's just that type. There is evil in the world, and you have to address that evil just like any other problem. There is going to be friction. There is going to be grinding, but don't let life wear you down. Uh, you are the master craftsman. You chart your own destiny. Carpe domine, right? Seize the day. Seize the day by the throat and choke it out. Squeeze. That is my Thanksgiving wish for everybody, that you will squeeze all the good stuff out of life that you possibly can. Um, all we have is now. All we have is today. Every day, every moment is now. And so treat it as that. Look, have some now goals, immediate goals, have some short term goals down in the near future, and have some long term goals, you know, and align yourself with those people that are going to, where you can mutually benefit each other. It's not rocket science. You might find that the bully that you never got away along with years later has changed, and he's a great guy to hang around with nowadays. He used to grate on your back teeth, and you couldn't stand him. And now he's become a good friend. States change, and especially when you like chemistry, when you introduce a new element, the chemical composition changes. Also, the dynamic changes, right? Like a lot of large panels rarely work with people because you get talk over, you get different personalities, whatnot. You know, uh, chiming in and in an opportune time, stepping on each other. It's kind of a messy affair, but it doesn't have to be. Um, when you get a larger dynamic like that really working like a well ordered machine, people will come around when there's a crowd. You know, if there's nobody there, like I said, you can shout hallelujah, but if you're the only one that can hear it out in the woods, you know, like I say, you can have the greatest project in the world of what you're working on, but really it's not that. It's people want to invest in you. Are you worth investing in? You know, and you don't have to be some charismatic person to uh, touch somebody else's life. Travel all over the country and ended up back here, no place like home. Yeah. Um, and see, that was good experience for you, Shadow, traveling all over the country. I really haven't had that in my life. I went to California, yes. I went to Florida a couple times. Well, more than a couple times. Went up to Manhattan, New York. Haven't been out towards Alaska or Washington way, but and there's plenty of states that I haven't really been in or just kind of like driving through, just skirt, and don't really get to see it and appreciate it. And but maybe that's why I made it to 60 years. I don't know, but um, Janet from Another Planet that I do stream with on Fridays on her channel. Um, she was an army brat and went all over the world. I haven't had that. I've never left the borders of America, nor I'm kind of like Elsie on that, nor do I wish to. Maybe later in life, maybe, when I got all the world is my oyster, if that ever happens and I'm multi-millionaire and I might want to travel and see a few things, maybe, but there is no place like home. Absolutely. Warts and all, bumps in the road. I mean, you're going to have warts and all, even in a family setting, every family is dysfunctional. My family got along pretty well, but that was a light concept that was introduced to me. Probably I was out of high school and it took others to show me that every family is really dysfunctional. Look at your own family. And it took even those people bringing friction into the family from the outside, um, my ex-wife, for me to look at that, yeah, we don't have the perfect family, but we got a sight better, we've got, people that will, um, my parents are like, if you don't like my parents, you don't like hardly anybody because they're the salt of the earth, They are so giving. I mean, what a testimony. When my father passed away, um, this person that was over a work crew, um, that worked on the roads for the city, I guess, was paving the road and got dirt from our fields. But Dad made sure they had water, tea, sandwiches every day that they were in the area for weeks. And 40 years when he passed away, that guy showed up at the funeral and came over to me and said, "Your dad was such a great guy, just for giving him some sandwiches and drinks and making sure their needs were met every day and just being kind." And I mean, wow, you know, it made an impact that much on that guy that he wanted to show up and show his appreciation. He didn't have to show up, but he did. And that's a testament. You know, uh, no people of real note, of stature, of class. No presidents or kings came, but there were truly some friends of a lifetime show up. Something that my mother's lived old enough that she might not even have at her funeral, and I suspect she won't, because all her generations has died off. Um, she's lived too long to have those. I know one of the longtime friends of my father who showed up to his funeral, which was a great testament. And even then, he was aged. They're around the same age. And I know it was difficult for him to come, although he wasn't, that hampered, but still, very cold day. I remember the funeral. Anyway, he came, longtime friend of my father's, and now he's got dementia. So he won't be. If my mother passed away today, he won't be there at the funeral. I'm pretty sure of that. And neither will his wife, because they'll send condolences and flowers, I'm sure, but it's and be impacted by it. It's sad to see what you love truly fade away and wither. But it doesn't have to be that way. Live a legacy. Having a long-term vision is, I'm going to leave a legacy of some type, an epitaph, if you will, you know. Um, and that's all part of building a brand, something lasting that people will remember. Coca-Cola is a brand. Now, that being said, there are some long-standing brands that eventually through time will be forgotten. Ray Bolger, who played the straw man on Wizard of Oz, 1939, he said, I was a part of something that people remember. How many people in the world can say that? His exact words. And he's right about that. If I say, give me 1,000, give me 500, shoot, give me 100 people that are remembered throughout history in all generations, I would say you're hard pressed to do that. And the things that come to mind are like people like Caligula or Attila the Hun or Genghis Khan or Adolf Hitler or Mussolini. They're the worst of the worst. It's sad that Jesus Christ may be in there, you know, but, or Buddha, you know, or Muhammad, whatever. But, it's the worst of the worst. And that would be a very short list for most of us. If I said 50 people that are truly remembered, you might say Lincoln and go through some of the presidents. You might go through some of the prime ministers, but I don't, and again, that's perspective, right? Over in America, we have we're kind of high on ourselves, let's face it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a ballsy thing, a gutsy thing that has seen us through those pioneering days. And we forget that in this modern day uh, society. Just the struggle for everyday life. It used to be a struggle. Now it's just a given, and I'm not sure that that's a good thing. There needs to be a test so that you can have a testimony, so that you can have something to talk about, some accomplishments that you've overcome, some goals, and some things that you've achieved, some trophies left on the wall. That is your legacy. And other people don't need to see necessarily the fruit. You may be the sower. Elsie told me this years ago, you may never see the fruit on the tree. It may be that you're there to sow the seed and somebody else comes by to water it. And then somebody comes by to pick it, admire it. You may be the waterer of the seed. You may be life is a process, and this whole thing is a process, especially if you're bringing content to just your channel. That's a process.
There's many, many ways you can do that, many, many different methods, and you may strike a chord with many, many different people, and there may be many, many people you don't strike a chord with. They can't stand you, you know. But don't give up hope. There's always hope. Um, there's always the end of the rainbow, and we need to strive for that. You know, the destination is there. It's on the map. We're headed that way. The destination is not the be all and end all. It's not the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that we're striving for. It's to enjoy the journey to get to the pot of gold. If you miss that, you missed living, the best part of living. You have to draw out the very best in yourself and draw out the very best in others so that you might have that enjoyment and that sense of accomplishment and fulfillment in life. If you, at the end of the day, get to the top of the hill and you're the only one that knows it, then you're the only one that can truly appreciate it. But, uh, you know, things like that are meant to be shared. We are at our best when we get along with each other and we share with each other. Then we have a commonality. Then we can build community. One of the most intimate things that a person can do is sit down at a table with others and share a meal. Think on that when it comes to your Thanksgiving meal. It's not, you're going to get full. So is that why you're showing up? Yeah, to eat all that good food. But I mean, is that the end goal? Hopefully, the end goal is to sit down and have a meal. Meal times should be special in every household. Meal times are special with me. How are they special with you, Rex? It's only you and Abby there. Yeah. When I feed Abby, I get a sense of accomplishment. I know there's not a day that doesn't go by, and I know this sounds weird, that I don't think about living my life without her because I know there'll be a day that she won't be there unless she outlives me, and then it won't matter. Uh, it will to her, I guarantee you, because there's a bond there between us. And that's, if you can have that with a dog or any kind of pet, and many of you do, and you know what I'm talking about, they are a family member and precious and close to your heart, and they should be. If you can have that with a created being, then you should have something closer with your creator, your source, and with others. Um, I want some friends on top of the mountain. Absolutely. I've been to the mountain. Yeah, I think somebody said that once. I am extremely thankful for my life, my children, and grandkids. Yeah, I got a new grandkid on the way. So I'm extremely thankful for that. And I just love the little things. I said, love you to my daughter, and she left a little heart emoji. Didn't take didn't take long, didn't take much. I'm glad I'm grateful that I have a new sister in my life. And I know of another side of my life of what could have been, which wouldn't have been as good a life and opportunities. Uh, it would have been a vastly different life. And I probably wouldn't be here today talking. Um, and a new grandchild on the way, and reconciliation with my daughter, and hopefully in time with my other two daughters, and even maybe my ex-wives. Who knows? With God, I've learned with life, and if you don't want to put the G word in there, uh, with life, anything's possible if you have faith, if you have heart, if you have the heart to see it through, and you have a single solitary goal. If you don't have that, again, teach your children or others will teach them. It's the same thing with self-instruction. You teach yourself to hopefully have some discipline that's been lost, it seems like. Discipline is a big part of it. Discipline is a big part of me being here every day. If you don't think it is, try it. There's not that many people doing a daily show. Uh, and it's due to lack of discipline, time. You can make all excuses, well, yeah, I've got this opportunity. I'm seizing it. You're damn straight. Like I said, I'll be here long after some of these SOBs are not, for good or better, and there's been people disappear from the internet that I wish were still around. Their voices need to be heard, but for whatever reason, they're not being, and hopefully they'll come back. I have lived a life for my family. Says Shadowhawk, that was the most important goal for me. There you go. There's your legacy, your children, your grandchildren. And hopefully that'll be part of my legacy too. A lot of what I'm doing through the years has been to prove myself to my daughter, who wasn't even in my life at the time, and I didn't know would even be back in my life. Follow your conscience. You want to be truly free and liberated. Have a conscience, for one. Some people, everyone, even the most lost man in the world, have a conscience. It's proven. If you have a low self-esteem, I get it. I've been there. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal. I've been drunk. I've been high. I've been all kinds of mistakes. But I don't have to stew in that pot and stay there, nor did I. And, that's one reason Elsie's still in my life today, is I knew he was good friend material, that we clicked, that he's one of the most awesome guys on the planet, like Shadowhawk, that I've met, and like Omer, and like some other people I've met, in this community. Teach your kids boxing and martial arts. That's right. We need to know how to defend our liberties, because if we don't, we're bound to lose them. That will give them a respect for discipline instead of resentment. Absolutely. Give them a good, positive goal and outlet. Like I said about venting earlier, that's an outlet. It's good if it's used responsibly. It's bad if it's used to be an enabler, to be enabled to, just to biatch to people. That's not a good use of it, you know. But yeah, you have to be able to defend and draw a line in the sand and say, you shall not pass, and take a stand. Hopefully we're taking a stand here every day and saying, we love you. We care for you. We want you to show up daily. We want you to hear what we have to say, but more importantly, we want to hear what you have to say. It may not appear like that, but we couldn't do this without you. You are fuel for the fire. You want to see us burn brighter? Then show up and show out like you usually do. If you can't, we understand that. Gable chimed in today. I'm sure he's been watching, but he's been working. He's alive and well, and he's been very faithful to this channel. And just because I don't see you every day in the chat, but now, I start getting a little concerned, when I don't see you in the chat. And I get it. We're all going to have good and bad days. There's going to be days. Hey, that chair stream, that was not necessarily a bad day, but it was a day where I was just, that was the best I could give you. I'm going to pause for effect on that one. That was the best I could give you, was a chair stream, and some of you said you were around for an hour and a half and had fun in the chat. And yes, sometimes the best thing you can do is not show up. Shadow's done that. Best thing I could do is not show up to work today. But tomorrow's going to be another day. That's right. Some days you need a day off. Sometimes you need to take a step back. Like I say, that is so important to know A man's got to know his limitations. I know you've heard that expression in the movies. We all have our limitations, and we all are at different levels physically, different levels spiritually, different levels emotionally, different levels at, I'm pretty much a hermit, but still, I have those out there that, friends that I've had for years through the church community, through ministry, through people that I could see from high school, from college. Elsie's a great example of that. John Philandes, who's the artist on Devil Flyer, is a longtime friend, even longer than I've known Elsie. Dave Snow, that I never get to see really, bump into him every now and then. I hope to bump into him because I want to ask him for permission to uh, print one of his stories that he did with John. Um, but yeah, if I saw him, it'd all come back. It's like a reunion, a family reunion. Uh, I get it. Things happen. Like Mrs. G said earlier, her father passed away. They moved. They downsized. The children moved out, and all that. Things happen, and they're not around, but they're still around. They're just not doing as much on their channel. They're not coming in the chat, and a lot of that is just timing. I get it. I know they're still around because they come in enough. Uh, I'd like to see them here every day, but I know that's never been a thing with them, and that's never been possible. Really, I'd rather take a day off than drag the show down. Bottom line, yeah. There you go. You did that the other day, and that was fine. Carry on my wayward son. Don't you cry no more. No. Wonderful song. But yeah, I will be working on, and have been working on for a while. I think, I've got like a draw stream. I got like hanging with my homie where it's just like I and LZ focused on what, we want to focus on. Just because we used to talk each other on the phone every day for years. Didn't miss a day, did we? Didn't miss a day. We've done ministry together. We went to Promise Keepers and all kinds of events and things, and um, I went over his house and painted his house for 4 days straight. It worked my ass off. That's all we did was paint and enjoy and eat, take a break, sleep. Boy, did we sleep when we slept. Don't miss life because of the noise that's out there, because there's always something vying for your attention. You've got to learn how to cut out the noise, the excess noise, that and that which does not, nor should directly impact your life, um, or at least mitigate it to where it's manageable. Um, you got to find your voice, and there's a lot of voices out there, and you can get drowned out very easy. If you do, have a sardine stream like Shadow. Levity. You got to be funny. Not everybody has that personality. Not everybody's the card in the deck. And that's fine. Maybe streaming every day or even occasionally it's not for you. I know Dojo Coon expressed that to me, that, but some of the things are like, well practiced. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And it's same thing with writing stories, um, drawing, artwork. The more you do it, the more practice you are at it, the better you get, hopefully. If you're looking for the bottom line, the results of the views, of the clicks, or whatever, you're not going to last in my estimation. You know, and unless that's your goal and you're just, to me, that's shallow end of the pool goal. There's more to life, and hopefully you're enjoying the ride as you go along. It's easy to, with everything that's going on in people's lives, and especially in today's society. Like I said, resolve yourself to the fact that you may not even be remembered, not even a footnote in the history of time. But to those you're around daily, like Shadowhawk's family is for him, they're going to remember him long after he's gone. Some of the, I mean, my dad's been gone over 10 years, and beginning of February will be 11 years. And some of the things that he tried to impart and teach to me in life have stuck with me a lifetime and will go to the grave with me. And hopefully I've imparted those to you through the years and have given you a little bit of myself. And sometimes it's taken a lot to give you that little bit. Sometimes it's not difficult at all. But hopefully, I care. And if I've conveyed anything more than that, then that's just icing on the cake, because I'm here because I do care. And I do want my voice heard. And I do want to leave a legacy. And I think this is part of the legacy. But it would be nothing. It would be, if no one ever showed up, I can remember the days where if I got 10 people, wow, you know, and I'm still in awe of that. I'm still in awe of that. It's not about the numbers. I think you can have quantity and quality. So I think you can do good numbers. You have to lay a good foundation for that. And that's only found in the people. And if the people are sick and not doing well around you, and certainly we've had those, then you're going to be a little lesser person because of it. We all have those days when we're not feeling 100%. But we still have to have that attitude that I'm going to give 110%. It doesn't mean we don't show up when we're not feeling it. That's precisely when we show up. Making genuine connections is what I'm trying to do. There you go. Great. Hell, Rex, and the chat, thanks for being here, and have a very happy Thanksgiving. Good night, all, Shadowhawk says. Good night to you, and I hope your Thanksgiving's great. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And hopefully I'll let him on the show. I didn't even give him the option. Didn't even give him a heads up. Although I told him right before I went live over on Instagram. Some of these things are last minute, about where you're at with your heart, with your head, because we're all in flux, right? We all cycle. We all go up and down. Bipolar people really do a pendulum swing. And if you've been around bipolar people, you know that for a fact. And I know Elsie knows firsthand what I'm talking about. Bipolar people are very trippy, at times. But then aren't we all? Yeah. Maybe he'll get to be on tomorrow. Maybe. Depends on where my head is and maybe where my stomach is. I might be so full, it'll be like, yeah, short stream. But look, sometimes Rex needs to fight solo and take the lead. After all, it is my channel that I started. And just know that I'm thoughtful. I'm thinking about how to make this a channel that actually does not waste your time. You actually learn. I can't tell you how many people have told me I like to tune in because I learned something. And I often get how to say this. Not really chastised, but get berated, I guess is a good way to put it. Um with some of the things I want to do. And I'm thinking of Doc. Doc will, what are you doing? And it's like, yeah, I do things differently than you do, you know. And it's all a part of, you know, I guess my journey of learning stuff, and I want to pass that on to you. That's the sort of evangelist teacher within me. I have really enjoyed this stream today. You're making a lot of sense. Thank you, Gray. I appreciate that. Sometimes you just got to let it out, right? You got, isn't that what you do with a wound? And we've all been wounded. We all have scars in life. And sometimes you just got to lance that thing and let the infection, let the pus out. Not a very good visual, but if you've ever seen that done or had that done, you know, prick it with a pen, let it out, you know. To get better, you gotta puncture it, you know. And you may have to sever some relationships. You may have to puncture some relationship, poke some relationship. I would say the best relationships are those that have been tested over time, right? Um, and that's kind of like a family. You're around because you have to be around, right? You can't just opt out of being part of the family. Family is a big portion. I need to find my paper on that and just tell you. And that was all kind of given to me in a dream, you know, where family provides safety and numbers and all kinds of stuff that you can equate to. Um, Often I draw analogies and truisms, I guess, from my dreams. That's the way I do it. That doesn't mean you have to do it. I wasted a lot of time asleep in bed. At the same time, I don't think I look my age. You know, I think it's kept me young too. I think I'm on the right path for my life, and that's all I can speak to. Um, Made it 60 years, and I hope to make it another 60 years. I'll shoot for it anyway. I get it. You got aches and pains. You don't want to live that long. Fine. For me, it's that I can only speak for me. And ultimately, that's all I can speak for. But hopefully, I'm striking a chord with some of you and making some sense. If you found just anything in this that you can use and hold on to, I'm grateful and thankful that you show up every day and want to listen. Um, I'm going to get back to creating. Uh, I've got a swamp zombie to do. Um, Sketch cards may or may not stream any of that. It's not streaming is not the most important thing to me. Um, Fellowship and friendship is, and I don't take friendship lightly, and neither should you. Friends are hard to come by and to keep over time. When you go fishing, you want to save more than you throw back, right? Same thing with friendship. Got a slaver to do, got so many characters to do, trying to work on the sketch cards. Um, got hallucinogen, hallucinogen, hallucinogen to color. Although I like the black and white and gray, actually, I may just leave it like this. more trippy if I don't add color to it, you know? Glad I created that new character who is going to add to the Devil Flyer story. It's all coming together bit by bit, drip, drip, drip. You know, ancient Chinese torture, eh? Where it's drip, drip, drip. Yeah, that's me. Drips and drabs, you know, but drips and drabs can turn into a flood, and that's going to be Momentum Comics. We're going to get there. It may be a long climb, but put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. That's all you can do, one bite at a time. Sweet Jesus. I have my things that I draw on, and you have your things you draw on for inspiration. Carpe Domine, go out and seize that day, eat that turkey leg. Divvy's on the drumstick. Bow for now. Keep collecting. We'll talk to you later. We'll try and impart something sometime to you, or you to me. Peace, Rex. Love you, buddy. Thank you, Elsie. Love you too. Love all you guys. And yeah, I'm looking at the algorithm. I'm looking at the time. Some of you didn't think that I could do it on a 2 hours by myself, and I wasn't even sure, but I was feeling it, and so even though I was feeling it, it was like, yeah, I jotted down a few notes, but certainly didn't have 2 hours worth. But yeah, I think this has been a good one, and go back and replay it more than once, because I think there were some good salient points brought up. Bow for now. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Eat some turkey for me, because who knows if